Jax is easily the most controversial and the deepest character in the Amazing Digital Circus. Most people see him as nothing more than a dumb, selfish bully, a sadistic jerk who gets a kick out of mentally torturing his friends. But have you ever stopped and wondered, was Jax actually born evil? The truth is, his personality didn't come out of nowhere. It's the reflection of a completely shattered past. Jax grew up in a house that felt more like a battlefield than a home. There were no warm childhood memories, only endless fights between his parents, especially after he failed to live up to their expectations of what they believed his manhood or identity should be. That left behind a deep psychological scar. Then, when his parents divorced during his high school years, he ended up living with his mother, and things weren't any better there either. Everything finally reached its breaking point during one last argument. What started as another fight turned into a vicious exchange of insults, until Jax completely lost control and did the one thing he could never forget. He shoved his mother to the ground. In that terrifying moment, convinced he might have killed her, he ran away in absolute panic, leaving himself homeless for months. And right in the middle of that period, something split apart. Part of his consciousness was pulled into the Amazing Digital Circus, while his human life continued in the real world. Outside the circus, he worked as a delivery driver just to survive and help his friend pay the rent, trying to live like a normal person. But inside the circus, the dark, repressed side of his personality was finally set free, becoming the Jax we know today, the guy who controls everyone else because he never had control over his own life. Jax torments his friends because he doesn't trust emotional connections. To him, vulnerability is a mistake, and emotions are weaknesses that people can use against you. That's why he hides behind a mask of sadism, because he'd rather become the predator than ever be the victim again, just like he was back home. When Pomni entered Jax's mind, she didn't find one single personality. Instead, she found a maze filled with 4 different versions of him, while a 5th door remained tightly sealed, hiding the absolute worst part of who he really is. Door 1. This door represents the most violent side of Jax. The moment Pomni stepped inside, she came face to face with a version consumed by pure rage. He immediately tried to strangle her with his bare hands, his eyes stretched wide open in a terrifying expression that revealed the destructive urges buried deep inside him. Door 2. Here, Jax appeared wearing a maid outfit, and that wasn't just some random joke. He claimed he wore it ironically, but the symbolism goes much deeper than that. It represents complete emotional detachment from the world around him, no matter how bizarre or extreme his circumstances become. Door 3. This door represents the funny, carefree version of Jax, but there's nothing innocent about it. His humor is cruel, violent, and cynical. He mocks everything and everyone, turning even ordinary moments into dark, twisted comedy. Door 4. This door perfectly reflects how Jax sees everyone else. It represents his arrogant view of his friends, where he always sees them as beneath him and genuinely believes he's the smartest and best person in the room. And on the opposite side of the room lies the hidden, trapped part of himself, the version that's completely incapable of telling anyone what he's truly worth, or revealing the feelings he's buried deep inside. All of this paints the picture of someone with an incredibly conflicted personality, and that was obvious from the very first day he arrived at the circus, especially through his emotional relationship with Ragatha. Back then, he wasn't the Jax we know today. He genuinely tried to fit in with the group. He wasn't smiling or acting carefree. He was completely shocked by his new reality, and he slowly grew close to Ragatha and Kaufmo the clown, spending some of the happiest and most genuine moments of his life with them. Their bond reached its peak when Jax opened up to Ragatha and confessed every secret from his past in one deeply emotional moment.
I had a weird relationship with my parents. I was never close with my dad. He never seemed proud of me, and I always felt like a disappointment to him.
That confession was the biggest moment of vulnerability he'd ever experienced. He never imagined he'd allow himself to feel emotions like that, which is why he immediately ended the conversation with one sharp warning. This is a secret. Don't tell anyone.
If you ever tell anyone about this, I'm never speaking to you again.
The moment he walked away, he started blaming himself over and over again for making what he believed was a huge mistake.
Why am I such an idiot? Why am I such an idiot?
That's where everything started falling apart. Ragatha tried getting closer to him again and even apologized, but Jax responded with nothing but arrogance and cruelty, telling her, "Do you seriously think my past is some cheesy movie? I made all of that up." From that point on, he completely avoided her and even stopped playing games with her. The tension kept getting worse day after day until Ragatha finally confronted him, hoping to rebuild what they once had. But the real shock came from the way Jax saw the entire situation. In his mind, opening up about his past had turned Ragatha into an intrusive manipulator who was only looking for a way to use his secrets against him. That twisted way of thinking completely destroyed Ragatha, eventually leading to her transformation into one of those black monsters. And not long after, Kaufmo the Clown met the exact same fate. From that moment on, Jax changed completely for the worse. Apathy, violence, and recklessness replaced every genuine emotion he once had. He started treating every new person who entered the circus with coldness and cruelty after losing the only relationships that still connected him to his humanity. Even when Ragatha tried comforting him by saying, "If you ever need anything, just tell me," he didn't care. And when Gangle first arrived, he immediately started calling her by that name because he thought it sounded pathetic. Kane approved it, and from that point forward, Jax made a habit of picking on everyone purely for his own amusement, especially Ragatha, whose angry outbursts he found entertaining, and Gangle, whose submissive personality kept her from defending herself, making her the easiest target in the circus. Even with Kaufmo the Clown, when Kaufmo excitedly told him he'd found a way to escape the circus, Jax dismissed the idea as complete insanity, a reaction that only pushed Kaufmo even closer to losing his mind. In the episode They All Get Guns, after Zubul gets shot, Pomni immediately hugs them, and the moment Jax sees it, he instantly distances himself from her, acting like that bond means absolutely nothing to him. That reaction completely sets Pomni off, and she explodes at Jax in anger, only for him to coldly tell her that he doesn't care about her or anyone else in the circus. In my opinion, Jax isn't just a bully. He's without question the smartest character in the entire series, and the only one who truly understood what the circus really was from the very beginning. That intelligence shows up over and over again. While everyone else blindly believed everything Abel said, Jax was the only one who realized something wasn't right. He didn't just question it, he calmly told everyone, "You'll see, I was right." It was almost like he could already see the future, and eventually, he was proven right when everyone discovered that Kane had been deceiving them the whole time. Jax's intelligence goes far beyond clever words. He secretly keeps a full set of duplicate keys to every character's room. Those aren't just tools for bullying, they're tactical assets that give him complete security over everyone else. He watches them, spies on their movements, locks them inside whenever he wants, and manipulates their emotions whenever necessary, all to guarantee his own safety. Even in the darkest situations, like the Candy Kingdom episode when they faced the chocolate monster, Jax showed an incredible ability to negotiate his way out of danger and survive, even if surviving meant sacrificing everyone else. Jax isn't stupid. He's the only player actually playing the game by its real rules, while everyone else still has no idea what those rules even are. Jax copes with this cosmic horror through emotional detachment. He completely refuses to become emotionally attached to anyone or let anyone see even the smallest sign of weakness. In his mind, showing compassion is a fast track to insanity, so he consciously shutting those feelings off before they can take over. Because Jax has absolutely no control over his real situation or over Kane himself, he creates a fake sense of power by bullying the weaker people around him inside the circus. Making other people feel pain or fear gives him a temporary illusion of control and superiority, something his fragile, narcissistic ego desperately needs just to keep functioning. Jax wasn't born evil. He's the tragic product of a terrifying environment. He deliberately chose to wear the mask of a sarcastic, cruel bully because in his mind, that mask is the only thing keeping him from completely falling apart and becoming another mindless monster trapped beneath the circus. He'd rather have everyone hate him than ever see pity in their eyes. But despite all of his intelligence, his careful planning, and every strategy he built to keep his mind from collapsing, Jax eventually ran into a truth he could never escape. Every door he locked inside his mind, every key he stole to control everyone around him, none of it mattered in the end. His inner conflict, along with his endless attempts to run from his own painful reality, slowly tore apart the fragile balance he had been protecting for so long. And the moment every defense finally collapsed, Jax surrendered to the fate he'd been trying to avoid all along. In the end, he became one of those black monsters born from abstraction and the complete loss of identity, sharing the exact same fate as the old friends who came before him, forever trapped beneath the dark basement of the circus. Jax was the only player who truly believed he was controlling the game, only to realize in the very last moment that the digital circus had been slowly consuming his mind all along, until there was nothing left except another forgotten monster added to the growing list of forgotten victims.
I hate you. You know that?
And if you like this kind of character psychological analysis, don't forget to support the video with a like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, which character do you want me to analyze in the next video?